What's up, everybody? I'm Jacob. If you're new here, I talk a little bit about everything. If you like that, stick around a little longer. And in today's video, I want to talk about how to tell when politicians lie to you. And of course, there's the old joke, whenever they speak, right? But I want to point back to the very first video I ever made on this channel. And it was called, "Nobody Will Save You, Especially Politicians." And there was a reason why. That was the very first video I put on this channel, because it's something I live by, something that I strongly believe, that most politicians got their job so that they could suck off the government tit. And one of the things that I posit in that video, and I've mentioned in past videos, is that there's something fundamentally wrong when a politician has to raise millions of dollars just to get a job that's six figures in an office. Something doesn't add up, right? And now that we've got the new administration in place, we're really starting to see things get exposed that quite frankly are no surprise to me. What really is more of the surprise is just how big some of these things are. And one thing that's really kind of frustrated me is you've got these politicians. They aren't necessarily federal politicians either. They could be politicians at any level. And we have Letitia James, who's had a long, protracted history in her position as the New York Attorney General, going after the Trump administration. And now she's making all this noise around Elon Musk, using DOGE as an unelected official to get into all of the data and using with this one tactic. And this is what the point of the video. This is how you can tell when politicians are lying. And she's a proxy for somebody bigger, higher up the food chain. Let's just say that. But the one tactic they always use is fear mongering. And the big thing here with Elon Musk being the unelected official, getting into all the data and digging around and getting exposure to your personal information, your financial records and all this stuff. Well, I got news for you. We have a lot of bureaucrats in the federal government and all levels of government, quite honestly, that have a lot of access to a lot of data that they probably shouldn't, and they're probably not trained on how to do it. Which brings me to my first point, is that there are very stringent practices. As somebody who's worked in IT for many years before I became a software engineer, I've also dabbled in cybersecurity, network engineering, systems administration, all kinds of different security implementations at the software level, hardware level, and networking level. And in the database, I can tell you that there are standard practices. You'd have to be very negligent to just have a social security number sitting as the actual number in the database. There are techniques largely around encryption. So what they do is they'll take your social security number, or it's called PII, personally identifiable information, and they encrypt it. They encrypt it and save it into the database as a scrambled string to not get too technical, right? So they're not going to be able to identify who you are, number one. So if there is a government entity that's doing that, that is the worst, most negligent practice ever. Like, that is really freaking dangerous. Not even public companies will do that because of the liabilities of getting sued. And in fact, this is not the only time that poor data practices have come into question. Back in December of 2023, let me pull up the article here. Back in December of 2023, there was a data breach from a private company, or government contractor. Just give me a moment here. Yes. So this company, National Public Data, had a breach, and they have to disclose, which is the law. When you have a data breach on that scale, you have to disclose to the public. Where 2.9 billion records were exposed, and in those records, I believe it was 370. Just give me a moment here. I'm just going through my Chat GPT history here. Yeah, here it is. More specifically about the data breach. In August 2024, the National Public Data, a background check company, disclosed massive data breach that potentially exposed personal information of approximately 270 million Americans. And so basically almost every single American, a good chunk of Americans, has had their data exposed. And the breach, I'm continuing to read here, the breach believed to have occurred in December 2023. So they waited almost an entire year to tell you about this. Number two, which is terrible practice. So if Letitia James wants to get mad about something, she should get mad about this, okay? This breach involved unauthorized access to sensitive data, including full names. So this is PII in the field of technology, network engineering, cybersecurity. It's called PII, personal identifiable information, full names, social security numbers, mailing addresses, email addresses, and phone numbers. And I can tell you from my experience in software engineering, if those fields are raw text in your database, you could be in really big trouble, and you'll fail just about every single security audit that's out there. According to all different standards that are out there that are in Europe, America, Canada, you name it, you are violating massive privacy. So yeah, this is not good. So let's see. The compromised data was reportedly leaked onto the dark web April and the summer of 2024. So those of you that don't know, on the dark web is basically another layer of the internet. I won't get too much into it, but you can't search it like you can the web, the bright web that we use every day, like through Google. The dark web, you have to know exactly what you're looking for, and you get an address and you go to it. The addresses are long, convoluted. They're not human readable. They're not friendly. It's a very, very dangerous place to be if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm only going to name it. I'm not going to show it to you. I'm not going to tell you how to get to it, because if you don't know what you're doing, you have no business on there. Trust me. Actually I have stories about that, of a family friend that got a little into the dark web and ended up destroying his life. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. Let's see. In response to MPD's parent company, Jericho Pictures Incorporated, confirmed the unauthorized access and has been cooperating with law enforcement agencies to address the incident. So basically, that's just a coded way of saying, yeah, we're just going to keep it quiet. We did our legal obligation and mention the press, but the press didn't do a big old hoopla over it, which the company was going, thank goodness. So they're doing everything they can to mitigate how bad the damage is. That's really what this is. The Office of Personal Management data breach in 2015 is another example, okay? The U.S. Office of Personal Management experienced a significant data breach that compromised the records of approximately 22.1 million individuals. The stolen data included social security numbers, names, dates, and places of birth. And I'll tell you what, the name, place of birth, and SSNs, someone could steal your identity with that. Start, setting up credit lines. But, these data breaches go on and on and on. And a lot of them are centered around government contractors. And I can tell you that if anybody understands security and data, it would be Elon Musk, not these contractors that are just hiring anybody willy-nilly. Although that's not really true. Your boy did look at government tech. It's called GovTech, which is the body of jobs where you can work for the government, and same jobs you would get like for AWS or software development or network engineering. It's the same jobs. It's just a different area of job boards and requirements to get in. And if you're going to touch, this is what's really important. If you're going to touch any systems that have any sensitive information or move or shuttle any sensitive information around, you have to get certain certifications. And these certifications talk a lot about what I just told you about personal identifiable information, how you treat it, proper encryption methods, how you store it at rest, which is how it, when it's sitting in the database, that's data at rest. And then there's data in motion. So when the data leaves a database, it's decrypted so you can look at it, do what you got to do. And, you delete that, goes away. But if you want to shuttle that data across the network, the communication that's in motion, that communication has to be encrypted as well. And there are certain standards and levels of encryption that's required. And I can tell you from what I looked at the jobs, the encryption in the public sector, which, like corporations or regular jobs, while the encryption's good, the encryption in the government, the requirements for the encryption are much higher. So the fact that Letitia James here is crying havoc over people's information being exposed, and all the other politicians that are using that excuse, I say bullshit. Stop fear mongering. Shut up, because all you're doing is just exposing that you're sucking off the tit and you're part of the problem too. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, comment below, and until the meantime, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.